r/AskReddit by Redmond Dts. What is the most NSFW thing that happened to you during work? Was a beach lifeguard. Saw all sorts of stuff. Saw a chick in a crotchless Batman suit with the top cut open so you could see her tits, finger banging herself with her legs spread while her dude videotaped it. Found an urn one time and we started partying all summer with it like it was haunted and we were carrying a ghost around. Saw this like 50-year-old dude who was like all muscle fat that liked to go out to the beach in a G-string, walk up to the water, then start stretching with his brown eye staring back to shore. BJ's in the lifeguard stands after hours, then during when I started dating this girl on Turtle Patrol. Saw a dude in a lifted truck with giant wheels run over this girl sunbathing. Luckily it was real soft sand. She had a tire mark on her back. Of course a fight starts. Then an hour later their two groups are partying together. Later on I saw her and the dude making out. It was a wild job. Edit. Forgot to share another awesome detail about the girl who got run over. She still had the tire mark when they were making out. Like he freaking marked her. I was doing a ton of overtime at the factory I was working and came in at 4 AM to find one of the night guys watching stuff on his PC, which was attached to the sound system they used to play music in the whole factory. Saw my coworker change panties at her desk. I was dating a coworker and one day she started passing me little notes saying how hot she thought I was and how much I turned her on. Just driving me crazy the whole day. Near the end of the day, over the course of an hour or so in little bits and pieces, she wrote how badly she wanted to take me in a back room and blow me in every crazy detail. About a half hour before leaving, we snuck out back and did every single filthy thing she said she was going to do. Thoroughly mind-blowing experience. We've been married 21 years now. I caught one of my staff about to open a vial of concentrated powdered acetylcholinesterase inhibitor at his lab bench with no personal protective equipment. Because he was an idiot who doesn't read the clear and obvious directions and wanted to take a shortcut. This stuff is extremely dangerous in powdered form, particularly if inhaled as dust. If you read that chemical description and think super cobra venom or banned nerve agent, you would be wrong, but only in ways that don't matter. Well, that's quite literally not safe for work. First job out of college circa 2009. Worked at an IT solutions company, small company, about 100 people. CEO was a young guy in his early 30s. The mentality of this place was work hard, play hard. Used to have a kegerator in the office break room. Company would take employees out drinking every Friday night at a bar a few buildings over from the office. Would pay for hotel rooms if people were too drunk to drive home. We had a client coming to the office one Saturday. I arrived to the office late, but for the purpose of this story right on time. Got there as the client was arriving, walked in with him and the CEO, took the elevator up to the second floor, where the office was, walked in. Directly in front of the main entrance was the main conference room. Looked up, saw my 25-year-old male coworker ass naked asleep on the conference table on his back, full mast pointing up to the sky, right next to the giant dump he took on the table. Surprisingly he wasn't fired, the client thought it was absolutely hysterical. Worst part about it was the end of Friday night drinks on the office dime. Coworker cornered me in a walk-in refrigerator and showed me that she could queef on command. Had a colleague who distributed emails containing funny pics which rose to an naughty level. Most people simply ignored them and they were deleted. The DL got wider and wider over time, but all was well until he decided to include the HR lady into the distribution. The shit then hit the fan, with IT searching the whole company's emails, him getting fired, and a lot of other people getting interviews, warnings, and reprogramming. Funny thing was, when I was interviewed, the HR lady had the emails on her PC and we went through them one by one. She was laughing at some of the funnier ones, but a line had been crossed. Had a friend with benefits at work hand me the remote for the sex toy she'd come to work with. 2 meetings and a company lunch were possibly the most fun I've ever had. I once was responsible for picking up discarded chemicals in a university chemistry building. One of the chemicals was picric acid. When it's kept wet, it's harmless. When dry, it is a very unstable explosive. It was stored in glass jars, so there was no way to determine if it was wet. Bomb disposal units are often called to dispose of picric acid if it has dried out. But at the time, 1970s, such measures were ignored. All I had was a thin plastic safety shield and a lab coat. I'm happy to report I survived the job. I opened the company's Dropbox and found dozens of full penetration pictures of the company's owner, 55 male, screwing the former receptionist, 21 female. In fairness, given the stories he told about their relationship, my reaction was more, Jesus Christ, of course there are pictures on the company Dropbox, than what the F am I seeing? This girl and I were always flirty at work, both recent college grads. We had hooked up a little at a couple of parties with co-workers. Our work was a lab that had a little dark room. One day, she came to visit or hang out with me in the dark room while I was working. We stood there in the red light facing each other and she said, "How come you've never screwed me in here?" We resolved that right then and there. About 20 years ago, working the meat section at a hometown supermarket. One of our butchers needed to make a quick run of pork chops, asked me to get the rack from out back. Brought it up front. He didn't put the chainmail glove on and tried to speed run it. Blade on the saw was fresh and he pushed a little too hard. Took his thumb clean off. He didn't realize it until I ran to grab towels to staunch the bleeding. Put the finger on ice and went to the hospital to have it reattached. Had 2 girls in very skimpy lingerie answer the door while I was delivering pizzas. Probably doing cam girl stuff or something. They were in a beach rental place. That was interesting. I finger blasted a co-worker once in a freezer because we had built so much sexual tension from talking about our sex lives. She then later gave me some okay sloppy behind the shed. It was pretty hot. This Yugo chick was bored at Bosch factory night shifts, so she randomly came to my station and we'd make out and do some other stuff. Whoever supervised the cameras at the time must have had a good old time. My wife sent me a hot text with a picture. The following emoji may also have been included. I had an appointment and had to give a presentation via screen mirroring. Everyone saw this text. It didn't directly happen to me, but about 20 years ago during night shift in a warehouse, I walked into an office to get something and caught a female coworker with a piece of supervisor in her throat. I was helping a coworker with something on his computer. His phone was connected, but with no battery. It was an iPhone and a MacBook Pro. I knew that it was macOS default to open image capture when an iPhone is plugged in. I thought, lol, I hope he don't have any nudes taken recently. Phone turns on. His gallery shows up on the screen of the computer. The guy had nothing but pictures of his dong. He scrolled in panic, showing more dong pics. All the possible angles. I just started walking backwards, pretending I didn't exist. Worked at a Starbucks 20 years ago, and my coworker pantsed me while I was standing on the counter dusting the lights. My parts were out for all to be seen. We had a good laugh about it and nobody reported to corporate. Funny, but looking back we'd all have gotten fired. Hanging a ceiling fan in a lady's house when she ran her hand up my shorts and commenced to caress Big Jim and the twins. This big fan is easily 20 pounds. I'm holding it up to put it in the mounting bracket on the ceiling while balanced on a ladder. I cautioned her that I'm liable to break her new fan and or my neck. Rest of the story delves into NSFW area. This is a rare double NSFW story. OSHA and HR would not approve. My coworker killed his helper in an industrial accident. Just before I showed up. I had warned him not to do a certain action, but it saved a few minutes over the course of a shift. So he got his helper killed to gain less than 1% extra. Another coworker at a new job killed someone by driving his semi-truck over him. Because he couldn't see, he kept going, the mentality of a truck driver. I had to take over the responsibility of the dead people each time, in addition to my own duties. So not only was it terribly traumatizing discovering horribly mangled bodies, my workload increased drastically with no extra pay. No time to process. Just chasing dollars, so my family wouldn't starve. The other week I stood on a wheeled desk chair to hang a poster. I did not fill out a risk assessment. That's all folks. Thank you for watching. If you like videos like this one, why not like and subscribe for more? Have a nice evening.